Hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. My channel is called Reimagining the Workplace. My name is Keli. This channel is about creating a beautiful work environment for employees in whatever shape or form. We enlighten people in regards to the workplace, how the workplace should look like and how the workplace should not look like, in an effort to create a beautiful work culture for our employees here. So today's episode, we've been doing a series of toxic work environments. We've looked at what a toxic work environment looks like. We've looked at signs that you're working at a toxic workplace. And today we are going to look at the consequences of working at a toxic work environment. Number one, and which is most common, is increased stress levels. What do I mean by this? Due to the pressure that comes with working at a toxic workplace, it builds up anxiety. You don't feel like you want to go to work in the first place, and if you do, you're constantly anxious. Then that builds up over time, and it brings about increased stress. You are probably depressed. It brings about depression and mental illnesses, and therefore a toxic workplace should be avoided by all means. Another consequence is physical unwellness as well. You'll not only be unwell mentally, but you'll be unwell physically. You can become sick. Depression can cause someone to have, for example, hypertension, high blood pressure. You can even have other sicknesses that are long-term, that are chronic, all because of being exposed over and over the years to a toxic work culture. And I read somewhere that 50% of the sicknesses at the workplace, because workers will often ask for time offs, like sick offs from the workplace. 50% of sick offs that employees get from their employer, 50% is because they are sick, and they are sick as a result of working under pressure, which causes stress, which causes depression, which causes hypertension, which causes all these other sicknesses. Yeah, so that's a huge consequence, and that is like the first sign that or first consequence that can be brought about by working under pressure at a toxic work environment. The other consequence is decreased productivity. If you're sick, going back to point one, if you're sick, you are constantly asking for offs. You are constantly feeling, fatigued or lethargic at the workplace. Clearly, that is going to affect your productivity. You're not going to work at your optimum if you're unwell, especially if your mental state is not where it should be. That is definitely going to affect your productivity. It's going to affect how you probably interact with customers. For example, if you're in marketing or in whatever you're doing, it's going to affect everything around you and around work. Yeah, so that is one thing that employers must be aware of. If you subject your workers under toxicity, then that should be a sure bet that productivity is going to go down, and that means losses to your business. Another consequence of working at a toxic workplace is decreased motivation. Whether you like it or not, employees who are exposed to a toxic workplace will have low motivation. They will not feel psyched up to do their work. Some even end up making work a duty, like a task, something that I just do. As long as I'm paid my salary, they don't care. Like, their motivation becomes the pay, the salary that you're going to give them at the end of the month. That's what motivates them. That's what makes them wake up in the morning, come to work, and they don't care. They don't care about productivity. They don't care about the interests of the company. They don't care. Their motivation is decreased, and it all becomes about the money that you're paying them. So work becomes something that you do not enjoy doing anymore because of demotivation. Another consequence of working at a toxic work environment is a very poor work-life balance. We talked about that in the episode where we talked about how a toxic workplace looks like. So you most likely understand what poor work-life balance looks like. Yeah, so that overworking, probably like spending so much time at the workplace and less time on your own, can cause increased cases of fatigue. Like, you're constantly tired, constantly feeling lethargic, or just generally tired. All you want to do is sleep. We've seen colleagues who spent most of the day, especially the afternoons, sleeping in the office, like literally sleeping, and you have to wake them up. So you tell me what that does to productivity for the company, towards productivity. It can even be extreme if an employee is tired, constantly fatigued due to poor work-life balance. It can be detrimental to them, especially if it's an employee who is a driver, for example, or operates a machine operator. It can mean accidents at the workplace. Yeah, so there needs to be a good work-life balance, because that can really be detrimental if it's ignored. Another disadvantage of working at having no balance at the workplace, work-life balance at the workplace, is it can have employees get into funny habits like over drinking, alcoholism. That can lead to poor relationships, especially at the workplace and even at home, with your family. So this is a very serious consequence of working at a workplace. And if you realize that you're constantly fatigued at the workplace, then you need to start doing things like maybe therapy, to help you overcome that, because it would mean you may lose your job, you may lose your family, you may lose your relationships, even at the workplace and away from the workplace. The consequence of working at a toxic workplace is increased cases of accidents at the workplace. You'll notice that, because again, employees are fatigued, they are stressed, they are working under pressure and a lot of anxiety and all these things, then accidents at the workplace will increase. There'll be fires or slips or falling, and accidents will generally increase. It can even cause violence between employees, where workers will be fighting amongst each other because they are working under pressure, they are stressed. So if an employee does not know how to manage their emotions, then that can spill over to the other employees, and that can cause violence at the workplace. It can increase accidents at the workplace. We've heard of stories where employees, especially askaris, policemen, have just shot their fellow askaris. They have killed each other, and that is caused by stress at the workplace. That is the only reason. They probably collided during work, and because one of them does not know how to manage stress well, they took it out on their fellow employees. This also causes increased compensation bills, because if employees have accidents at the workplace, then the employer must compensate them for the accidents, and that means the company loses a lot of money in compensation. An employer can decrease accidents at the workplace by proper training of the employees, such that when an employer is working on a machine or driving a car or a truck, whatever you're doing, you have proper training of it, and that means accidents will be minimized. They can do that through offering proper equipment that has been well maintained, well serviced, that is in good working condition. They can do that through proper making sure that the employees are dressed or wearing safety gear, and generally just introducing a safety work environment culture, because you can teach employees that they have a responsibility to make sure that they are safe at the work. They maintain safety by making sure that they themselves are safe and their fellow employees are safe as they work, as they do whatever task it is that they are doing at the workplace. It's important for employees to note that increased work accidents at the workplace are caused by being exposed to a toxic work environment. Something else that would be a result of someone working at a toxic work environment, it makes you it affects your self-esteem. You have low self-esteem, you have a low outlook of yourself, because for example, bosses will be making you feel small. They'll show you that they're doing you a favor by having you working for them. They will just question you, question your worth, question your skills even. They'll insult you. Like, if you're working at such a place, chances are that will affect your self-esteem. You will start thinking low of yourself. You'll even start wondering if you're worth this job, even when you are doing a good job, even when you are delivering, even when you are doing your best. Then you will always think that you are constantly falling short of your boss's expectation, yet you're doing your work. And why? Because that affects how you feel about yourself. Listen, if you're working with people who are constantly frustrated by their employer, who are suffering stress and depression and constant anxiety attacks, employees start fighting each other, they start treating each other badly, blaming each other, throwing blames at each other, calling each other names, insulting each other. Like, generally, a toxic workplace can create a very, very hostile and unfriendly relationship at the workplace for your employees. And guess what that does to you as an employer? It brings about low productivity again. Nobody is willing to work, nobody is excited anymore to come to work or to give their all at work. Yeah, so that's a really serious consequence. So what do we say in conclusion? Listen, do not die of working. Do not kill yourself with work. It's never that serious. If the consequences of working at a toxic work environment are too much, they are making you sickly, they are making you uncomfortable, they are making you probably mad the whole time. You basically cannot function, or you suffer these chronic diseases that we talked about, then it's not worth it. Trust me, you have the right to stop it. I had someone once say that they were working at such a toxic place, they were constantly sick, and when they stopped, in the first 2 months of stopping, they were okay. They were never having those constant hospital visits. They actually thought they were suffering clinical depression. But when they left work, in the first 2 months after leaving work, they were okay, they were fine. They never needed to see a doctor. They did not suffer any form of depression in any way. Yeah, so like I said, don't die working, because you're the first. That's why you're called a human resource. You're the first thing that needs to be properly in a good condition for work to happen in the first place. Yeah, so as we said, God wants us to be happy. God wants us to enjoy our work, because He's the one who created work. Yeah, so as we go again in this journey of reimagining our workplaces, may we never forget that God wants us to be happy, and that He doesn't want us to suffer all these consequences that we've listed above. Yeah, and if you like this channel, I would like to ask that you subscribe to this channel, that you will hit the notification bell, so that you will be notified every time we upload new videos, and that you will watch them and comment on our videos, and even suggest to us any topics that you'd like us to cover that surround the workplace. Yeah, and we'll do that for you. Bye bye.